GM, everyone. Welcome to a very special edition of Pinto Town Hall. It's at a bit of a different time this week, so we don't have as many contributors here to talk about what they're working on, but we had to move the town hall for a special event, which is that we just dropped the Pinto Genesis NFT collection. What's up, Quasi Matt? Welcome to the Beaver drop. We are here kicking off this town hall. I think we're going to do it a little bit differently this time than we have recently. We're going to start with the big announcement, which is the Genesis Pinto Beavers. I think it'd be great to maybe just hear a little bit from BNC, who's been spearheading the NFT work, on the inspiration here and the work that's gone into it. Maybe people, if they feel compelled, can post their NFTs in the general chat for people to see what just happened. And then after we do a little NFT conversation, we'll go around hearing from the other contributors that are here, although it's less than normal because of the different time. And then I'll share a bit of what I've been thinking about and working on with respect to Pinto as well. So, all right, BC, talk to us. Mazel tov on the drop.
Thank you. Yeah, it's an exciting time. So, coming up on 4 years, a few weeks after the 4-year anniversary of Beanstalk, and especially since the last 6 months with Pinto have been fairly turbulent, but also some trying times for all the users who stuck by and everything. We wanted to find a way of rewarding everyone who stayed on the farm. So inspired by the old BNFT collection, with a new twist on it, and with the new art style of what Pinto's trying to take on, we basically started working on some beavers, and we see Pinto as essentially just one community where everybody works together in harmony. And we think that the beavers that we put together really encapsulate this feeling of a village that works in harmony. So I'm interested to see how everybody reacts when they end up seeing the reveal for their NFTs, and to see some of the interesting ones that we were able to cook up, some of the fun traits. But we had some fun playing around with it, and fun times.
Thanks, BNC. One of the things that resonates with me about the idea of a beaver as it relates to Pinto is, on the one hand, we're looking for things from nature to inspire us. And obviously the original bean metaphor is farming based in general, and the terminology and the protocol is based in farming. But when we think about the coordination that is generally incentivized by the protocol, we were looking to places in nature where living beings are actively coordinating to create something larger than any individual. And so we were looking at ants, we were looking at bees, but ultimately we settled on beavers from the perspective of there were a couple elements, but the one that stuck out to me the most was when you think about a beaver dam, there's some element of putting together pieces of a puzzle, or logs, trees, and organizing them in a way that actually stops the flow that might be normally the case, dams a river, if you will, and creates a new layer of stability in an ecosystem. And in many ways, that is the goal of Pinto, is to create sufficient incentives such that people naturally organize themselves to create stability that can be the basis of a larger ecosystem and economy. So then the question was, well, how do we bring the beavers to the people? And it felt like the right thing to do was to do an NFT collection that has the ability to get people, in a way that is value aligned, some sort of ownership of the beaver community, if you will. So a lot of hard work has gone into this. We are a small team, so we weren't able to do the most sophisticated art. But we are very excited about this drop and feel like hopefully people are. This is something that resonates with people, and hoping to see some Beaver PFPs pretty soon. So that is the NFT drop. Pintocito, I see you just posted the lore that was developed in tandem with this. Curious if you're willing to do a dramatic reading.
I'm willing. My voice might not be able, but I'm happy to try. The lore. And it came to pass in the dry seasons of yore, when the river was made thin, and volatility crept in, when the farm was yearning for mints, that the Pinto Beavers did not depart, whether tending unto their crops in the silo, sowing in the field, or dwelling in the quiet leisure of the farm. Their steadfast faith and enterprise preserved the Pinto experiment, that it might endure. Yeah, the farm remembers.
Fun stuff. Fun stuff. So hoping to see some more beavers in the chats, in the channels these days, maybe as a Twitter PFP. Yeah, very excited. I remember the excitement around the original Bean FTs. So for me, it's a thrill to be running this back. What's up? I see Lyman is here, one of the original creators of the Pinto logo. What's up, sir? Welcome. It's nice to see you here.
What's up? Thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. All right, so we're now going to resume with normally scheduled programming, if you will. Hearing from the contributors that are here, although it is a smaller crew due to the difference in time. And after that, we'll talk a little bit about upcoming changes to the protocol and some of the stuff that is on my mind as well. Frijo, talk to us, sir. How are you? I know you were hard at work grinding these NFTs and getting them ready for production.
GM gang. This week I spent some time working with BNC and Pintocito getting the NFTs to launch. So both on the back end and the front end. Part of my time was spent with John Deere, which unfortunately he's not here. So perhaps I'll speak on his behalf on what he's been working on. And that is grinding on the new landing page. We've been having a lot of great conversations, a lot of back and forth on the progress of it, and we're confident we can get that out sooner rather than later. I also had a great conversation with you, Ben, this week, talking about the convert bonus. And one of the last things we had to do was to pick some initial values on how to kind of set this thing when we launch it. So one more thing we just figured out, and now we're still heading towards maybe 2 to 3 weeks from now we'll get that convert bonus out. Working with Burr as well, getting both the blueprint to convert up tractor orders out as well as this upgrade out. At the same time, it's proven to have been a endeavor, but we are steadfast and pretty confident we'll have a very successful launch with this. So that's what I've been working on.
Awesome. Very exciting. Can you talk a little bit more about the parameterization of the converts and some of the work that went into that? And I'll talk about the specific parameterization stuff, but I know a lot of research and preparation went into that. Deadman Walking, who's not here at the moment, did a lot of that prep, but maybe it'd be helpful for you to share some of the analysis that went into this.
Yeah. So the two open parameters that the convert up bonus allows us to parameterize is one, this target number of seasons Pinto desires to return to the value target once it has reached the maximum capacity, and two, the rate in which the system reaches the max capacity. In order to do that, in the past, we've said it's an art more than a science, but this time we wanted to be, true to our word, very rigorous, and Default Juice was the one who did a back analysis of the state based on its previous conditions, the delta B, the price, uh, the debt liquidity ratio, and given all those parameters, calculated how the convert bonus would have performed under various different parameters. So that was very, very helpful in determining initial values. We could estimate, okay, given this set of parameters, how much capacity would it be in practice? It's one thing to see it in theory, but it's another thing to just see it in practice and see what actual numbers we would expect given an initial set of params. So that's been the process there, and it's been very enjoyable, really. Uh, Being able to actually estimate these numbers gives us the information we need to prioritize this as well as we can the first time around. So very excited to see this thing out in the wild.
And is that I know there was a repo for that. Is that something we can publish for people that are interested to play around?
Yeah, so there is a public repo. In addition to that, every time we have a PI that requires some analysis, we also have a repo backtracking for that as well. So everything there is public.
And it's already public?
Yes.
Awesome. If you're able to, it'd be good if you maybe just posted a link to that in the town hall chat for people that are curious to go check it out.
Right. Will do.
Thank you, Frijo, for those updates. Yeah, I'm highly enthused about this convert bonus. All right. Let's swing it to Pintocito. What's up, sir?
A little under the weather right now, but
Well, your microphone also sounds like it's underwater in addition to under weather. Maybe you could try to fix that.
did I just change anything?
Unclear. In the meantime, we'll send it to BNC. Other than the NFTs, is there anything you wanted to mention that you've been cooking up, BNC?
Yeah, so a lot of what we've been doing on the social media front, I think has been an interesting change of pace, changing up the tone, starting to give, I think, more overt commentary on things. The articles that you've been putting out have been really intriguing, and I think they've been doing well. So things are chugging. We're almost at 1,000 followers, so I'm fairly encouraged with how momentum is going right now. And yeah, just kind of want to keep it up.
Awesome. Yeah, on the one hand, 1,000 followers feels small, but I reached out to a guy who's running the socials for a protocol that has like 90K followers, and I was asking him about it. He says, "Yeah, when I got in here, basically we were paying for this boosting on X, and we had like 105,000 followers, and they're almost all bots." So, given our intention to be grassroots and have organic growth, I'd prefer that we have 1,000 strong followers than 100,000 random bots.
Totally.
So yeah, we're gonna continue to work to expand the range of people that are paying attention to this, but I think slow and steady will win this race in the grand scheme of things. Thanks for the update, Big Nose. I see Gus and Captain Trips just joined. Welcome to the Pinto Beaver NFT drop. Hope you guys like your beavers. All right, we're gonna swing it back. What's up, Captain Trips? Talk to us.
Oh, I was just wondering how I get it.
If you go to the site and you're connected to your wallet, there's a collection tab where you can see your NFT.
Cool.
All right, Pintocito, were you able to fix your microphone? What? Go ahead. No, it's even worse now. Now you're very far away. Yeah, I can't hear you basically at all. All right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead, Pintocito. You back?
Oh, now, can you hear me?
Yeah, I think it's better now.
All right, I'm sorry about that, guys. I'm sorry for my poor voice. From my end, been continuing to focus on content and community. So the NFT launch, I hope is something that people value and brings some good energy, gives a little bit of a face to this community. Was proud to publish at the end his most recent article, Pinto Prints for People. I do agree with the comment that was made that it is the most comprehensive intro article for somebody about what we're doing, why we're doing it, why it's cool. So that's very exciting. Beyond that, it's been good to get more active on the socials. I'm looking forward to the 1,000 mark. I think with these things, it's good to just build up a constant stream of quality output, and continuing to get followers every day is encouraging. And beyond that, have been working on putting together even graphics for the articles, which is a big struggle because that isn't my skill at all. So hoping that we can find some support within the community at some point soon, in order to help us to bring our vision to life with more beauty. I know that the graphic on the more recent article was quite rudimentary. I hope that it communicated the message to people. But I'm feeling optimistic.
Thank you for that, sir.
I guess
Go
if
ahead.
you have anything to say about what I said, I would just add one point about the NFTs.
Please.
That I just like the idea that there was this period of time where some people in the market were scared, some people were leaving, and the people who earned this airdrop were just hanging out. And I think that the images reflect that, whether that's claiming, tending to their crops, sowing, or just watching over, whether that's just enjoying being on the farm and being part of this experiment, having fun, lounging around, playing music, and hoping that the prints come, but enjoying our time nonetheless, riding this roller coaster. So I personally feel that the images communicate that, and I'm very much curious to hear feedback from others. We went in AI direction, which you can see in the images, and there was internal discussion about that. I'm curious to see if people like it.
Thank you, sir. So maybe we'll just pause briefly before I start sharing what's on my mind and what I've been working on a bit to see if people do have any reactions to the NFTs. Captain Trips, were you able to find yours?
Yeah, it's cool. Never had an NFT.
Cool. Very cool. Maybe we'll see a new PFP pretty soon instead of the Discord default. All right, floor is open for brief comments, or I guess a brief period of time if people want to talk about the NFTs a bit. Cool. All right, so there's a couple different things on my mind, and I do want to talk about the convert bonus stuff in a second. But maybe some high level context first. When we originally deployed Pinto, the focus was on kickstarting the collection of data, where we had basically reached a point with Beanstalk where people were not really participating in the mechanism, such that even though we had put out some additional layers to the model, we weren't really getting any real market data about the efficacy of these systems. And as much as we can reason in theory about how these incentive structures are supposed to work. Fundamentally, we need people to use the protocol. And over the first approaching, I think we might have even hit 9 months now since we launched Pinto, we've had the opportunity to actually get people using the model again and getting a lot more data about how the system works in practice out in the wild. And really the last piece of the current set of upgrades from a pure model perspective that we really have scoped out at this point, other than a couple of tweaks that the data has indicated that we should make small tweaks, is this convert bonus and penalty system. And we sort of started tweaking the penalty with this change to you can't convert down without a loss of all your stock below $1.50. We have this more general penalty system for converting down. And the next chapter in this convert bonus and penalty system is to add a convert up bonus. And there's the potential for a convert down bonus in the future and a convert up penalty. But both of those feel less relevant or directly related to the model, if you will. Or at least less important given the natural tendencies of people, where it's like people already want to convert down, so a bonus doesn't feel super important, and people already have a preference to convert up, so a convert up penalty is a little bit less important in the grand scheme of things than a convert up bonus. And so as we close in on, as Frijo was saying, that we're weeks away potentially from putting out this convert up bonus to complement the convert down penalty that was implemented recently, it really feels like we are reaching the tail end of this sort of first chapter of Pinto, or Pinto development, I should say, where the ideas that we put out into Beanstalk, we've started to get a lot of data on them, such that we're able to make additional tweaks. Like in this PI that's going on soon, we're further tweaking the seed gauge system works, although it's pretty marginal. But more to high level, this is the state of the model. And other than just tweaking a couple of parameters and making sure that the finer edges of the system are properly set, the next real chapter in development is going to be adding a governance system that is in line with the values of Pinto, being permissionless and censorship resistant and trustless. Whereas right now we have a multi-sig governance, which doesn't really feel good to me, although we've learned with Beanstalk the hard way of implementing a system for governance improperly in a permissionless way. So we've taken a lot of care to design the system properly. But this really is we're closing in on the state of Pinto as a model. And in order for us to take the next leap and really make another full order of magnitude or multiple orders of magnitude jump in the efficacy of the model, it's going to take a lot of time and probably a reworking and re-implementation of a lot of stuff. And so for now, given that we're sort of approaching this point in time where it feels like, okay, like the system is what the system is, and until we go through another growth cycle and a debt cycle, we're probably not going to have enough information to decide on how we want to make these tweaks, if you will, other than very slight ones that we can make in the current form. And it's going to be a long period of development to take things to the next level, let's call it. And so at this point, my focus has shifted to making this thing much more palatable and presentable to people in general. And I think when we initially launched Pinto, it still didn't necessarily feel appropriate to aggressively try to address the market directly and get people to pay a ton of attention to this. From my perspective, given the nature of the experiment and the fact that we didn't really know how a lot of the model and the pieces of the mechanism that were newer, where we didn't have a lot of real world data, were going to perform, it felt like just getting it out into the wild and having some people use it good enough. And it really has been. Like, we've been able to collect a lot of data. and it's made the protocol stronger. But now we are at a point, given the context of we're closing in on the limitations of what we plan on doing in terms of significant upgrades to the model in the short to medium term. I think really the time is right to welcome people here and say, hey, check this thing out. This is what we've built so far. Come play around with us. Come play with the model. Come tell us what you think. And so this to me has a couple of elements to it. But overall, you can think of it as like really revamping the Pinto user experience. So on the one hand, we've been working to make significant improvements to the UI itself, the flow for users, making it more understandable for beginners, making it more accessible for them, less imposing, maybe less terrifying, because a lot of the feedback that we've gotten is that there's a lot going on and it can be hard to understand it. So trying to make it more easy for people to feel like they're in control, which is a lot of what Pinto actually brings to people. It's control, but control without a helping hand can be overwhelming. And on the UI front, the other thing is, and this is also related to the back end, is Tractor, where ultimately we are trying to automate or make it accessible to people to automate the vast majority of their farming activity such that they can get the full benefits of the protocol and really play their strategy to the best of their abilities without having to always be glued to their screen. And so the main upgrades happening to the UI are, one, this flow and accessibility improvement, but then also trying to incorporate Tractor into various parts of the UI. So we're working on a mow, plant, and harvest blueprint that will allow people to basically farm their yield actively. Our first blueprint was this automated sowing from your deposits. We're going to upgrade that in the future to include sowing from external assets. With the launch of the convert bonus, we're going to support that with Tractor, as Frijo was mentioning. So there's also a significant effort to make it such that using the protocol efficiently is lower friction, which to me is all a very big deal and should make this UI upgrade should make the protocol easier for people to come play around. But the other piece of the puzzle is a funnel of content that is able to address people where they are. And then take them through and lead them through the process to get up to speed and acquainted with our quite complex system. So the starting point has been these articles that I've been putting out with Pintocito's help, which has been tremendous, to get people to understand why we're here and understand the context in which Pinto exists, which I think is going well. But the next step in the funnel is going to be to have some explainers on the intuition behind the stock system, the field, the silo, the sun, the convert bonus and penalty system, the flood. There's all these mechanisms that can generally be quite imposing to people that are newer to the system to come and play around and participate, because there's so many new terms and what are all these things and why do they exist. And so the next step of the funnel is going to be these articles that in plain English make it accessible to people what we have going on here. So that to me is a big part of the puzzle. I've started to draft those. I think I drafted 3 or 4 of them this week and intend to draft another set of them over the coming week. And we're going to roll those out over the next couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months even, because there's so much content to put out. And the hope is that the top of the funnel, getting people intrigued about why we're here, more the middle of the funnel, explaining and helping people build an intuition for how all this works. And then that will ultimately get them to the UI, which should be much more intuitive and helpful and less overwhelming than perhaps it is in its current state, or it has been, where there's a lot of friction to get people to actually act and participate in the system. And then more generally, once you go through the funnel and you're actually in the protocol, we have the white paper, which remains the main source of truth. We're going to do an update to the white paper in line with this new PI coming out to get it up to speed with all of the current specifications, which is quite a work to keep that up to date. And the other thing is the Git book, which could use a bit of a revamping. In my mind, that's sort of the lowest priority at the moment. But at a high level, there's this significant effort being done and coordinated to dramatically improve the user experience. So to me, it's like the protocol has demonstrated enough efficacy that it's worth people paying attention to. The next step in the process is to produce content that gets people to see what's going on here, to understand why we're here and what we're doing. And hopefully it's compelling enough to get them to come check it out in a significant way. So that's the plan that we plan on executing. One of the things that I'm going to put out is a roadmap article, hopefully in the next couple weeks, that lays out what development is happening, lays out the fork system, which is the governance mechanism that I was mentioning and we've written about in the past, and explains a little bit about the high-level plan to get people to participate in the system and take this seriously. So that's a bit of what I've been working on and thinking about with respect to the protocol. And then obviously there's stuff related to the model itself, which I want to talk briefly about as well. But first, I'm going to pause briefly to hear if people have any questions or thoughts about what I've been saying. Right. So maybe before I get into talking about the model, its performance, and also a bit of the convert bonus stuff that Frijo mentioned, I see we have a tractor in the house. Floyd Rainweather, welcome, sir. How are you?
Hi everyone. Sorry for being a bit late. I've been a bit under the weather for the past couple days, which is kind of ironic considering my name. But anyway, on my end, I've been just working a lot on the landing page. We made great progress this past week, and you know, we're getting there, man. Exciting stuff. We're getting there. I think we're gonna launch next week. Exciting.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that update, sir, and hope you feel better soon.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So the main thing that I want to talk about with respect to the protocol is we've seen, and I think the data that we've been registering demonstrates a couple things which we've talked about in the past. But well, I thought there was a tweet that I believe BNC put out that was like the market's down and Pinto is flat, or something like that. This is low volatility money, and to me, this is the point. Ultimately, the protocol does experience some volatility relative to the market, but there have been some bids. There's ultimately, like in the protocol's early stage where we currently find it, having some marginal better amount of volatility relative to the market as a whole, to me, is quite meaningful. And you could say some of it comes from the fact that the protocol has exposure to USDC, which is true. But if you look at the 1 month chart of Pinto on the crypto market performance, if you go to the data page, you can see how there's been quite a significant amount of volatility in the Bitcoin price, the ETH price, the SOL price, although now we've reduced the exposure to that pool quite significantly. And Pinto is significantly steadier, is the reality. And so I think we're still early from the perspective of the protocol is small, and all of this data should be taken with a grain of salt. But it's hard not to be excited when we have a month like we have had over the past month, that this is a protocol that is demonstrating at the margin it has an ability to create a new type of money that has lower volatility than what I think most people would argue are the three best instances of crypto money that exist to date. And you can make an argument SOL hasn't really qualified yet, which I may subscribe to, but certainly Bitcoin and ETH. These are things that are making a case to be money. And Pinto is here as an attempt to create crypto native money a la Bitcoin and a la ETH that excels from a volatility perspective. And so even though we're small, to me it is significant and meaningful. And it doesn't mean that the protocol couldn't be better. Right now we're at 93.5 cents or so. And over the past week, the downside volatility in the protocol has generally been in line with the rest of the market. So this is somewhere where, for example, the convert bonus system can have a more meaningful effect at getting us to a point where we have even better data as compared with the market. But to me, this is a strong period of time for the protocol, and it's demonstrating, it's logging strong data. And if you look at the history of Beanstalk, historically, before any real growth cycle, we've had a month, 2-3 month period of time, multiple months consecutively, where the protocol was just doing its thing, more or less oscillating around the value target before a big growth cycle was started, typically kickstarted by someone coming in and purchasing a significant amount of the protocol. And so this is, I think, and not to make any sort of forward-looking predictions about what's going to happen, but I think we're seeing the model once again demonstrate its ability to create stability around a price target. Crypto market's been somewhat volatile, and despite that, we've been logging strong data. So that, it's less technical analysis than I've offered in previous weeks. But sometimes it's good to just zoom out and take a look at how the protocol is doing at a high level compared to the rest of the market. And it's like, it looks like there's a there. It looks like this is something that has legs to it. And ultimately, we don't know how it's going to perform when it grows 10x, when it grows 100x, hopefully. My hope is that when we grow 10x, we don't grow 100x at the same time, if you know what I'm saying, such that we can get a chance to see how the protocol performs at 9 figures, low 9 figures, and make tweaks as appropriate. Like I said, at this point, I think it's going to be more parameterizing it than significant model changes. But this is where we find ourselves. For me, generally, it's a pretty exciting time for the protocol. So those are my high-level thoughts. I do also want to comment briefly on the convert bonus system, although we'll put out more content on that in the coming weeks ahead of the launch. And I think that'll be a more appropriate time to talk about it. But I'm going to pause briefly to see if there's any questions or comments or thoughts on what I've said so far.
Yeah, I had something, and I think it kind of relates to the realized volatility comment I had either last town hall or the one before. But I'm interested to see as the protocol matures, like in line with liquidity growth, if realized vol on Pinto itself will start decreasing, and that would be an interesting measure of overall health in the system, or might be an insight to see if something isn't necessarily going right. So I don't think it would be too difficult to implement something like that or to like look at it. But as far as like trying to collect data, I think it would provide some interesting insight overall.
And did you ever follow up with Pinto Pirate about whether the data that you were looking for exists thus far?
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't exist. Based on the I forget what the name is for how they store the data, but so far, yeah, they don't have it.
So I would appreciate it because I think that you're totally right, and this is important data for us to be tracking and displaying for people. If you could just write up briefly what the data is you're looking for, and then we can try to coordinate with Pinto Pirate to get him to upgrade the subgraphs to include that.
Sure. Yeah.
That'd be great. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that very much.
Of course.
Anything else that came to mind for people as I was talking? All right, so the convert bonus is quite a meaningful upgrade to the protocol. you think about where the protocol gets stuck. Historically, it gets stuck below the value target for extended periods of time. And the difficulty is in incentivizing people to convert upward. As we've talked about and as we've seen, there's a strong preference for people to hold LP as opposed to pure Pinto. And there are a variety of reasons as to why this might be. Exposure to the other assets. Historically, it's been that there's potentially more seeds. But what we went through during this previous debt cycle was that people weren't converting. There wasn't much activity happening. There weren't any outflows either. And we made the decision to raise the crop ratio to 200%, the max crop ratio, excuse me. And what this did in practice was make it such that for the first time in the history of either beanstalk or pinto, that holding pure beans, holding pure pinto, was preferred explicitly by the protocol over all other assets in the silo, all LP tokens. And so this ultimately at 200% crop ratio, what this meant was that if you were holding deposited seeds, you were earning at least double the stock every season for the same PDV deposit in the silo as if you were holding an LP token. And in some cases, it was significantly more than double. And despite that, some people didn't convert, which is at some level surprising. But the response or the result is we spent some real time, and time had gone into designing the convert bonus system even before this, but we spent more time trying to understand why this was. And ultimately, one of the things is that if you convert, you make it such that the likelihood that the system actually holds the crop ratio high for an extended period of time goes down. So it's like on the one hand, you're going to convert from LP to seeds to get more seeds. But then if the protocol actually returns to the value target soon because you and everyone else is converting, it's likely that the crop rate is going to come down, at which point you may get stuck holding the Pinto because there's a strong demand to convert down. And there's limited amounts of convert downs that are allowed without 100% loss of stock. And so the question has been for quite some time, how can we create an additional incentive via maybe a one-time stock bonus that can make it such that people are actually incentivized to convert because they don't know how long the protocol is going to continue to reward Pinto deposits over LP deposits. The protocol is questioning, converters are questioning, well, what's really in it for me? So the idea of a one-time stock bonus is a very powerful idea. And at the same time, we ran into a problem when we were initially designing the convert bonus, which was that you really want to be manipulation resistant. And the potential manipulation was that if you offer a bonus that is higher than the amount of stock on a given deposit already. So let's say you hold Pinto already, and there's a significant bonus, significantly more, just at all more than the grown stock accumulated from seeds that you have on that deposit as a bonus. There's a simple way to basically manipulate the rules where you can withdraw your Pinto, burn all your stock, deposit that Pinto in an LP token, and then convert the LP back to Pinto. You can do it all atomically. And if the convert bonus is higher than the stock that you had originally, you've gained stock. And so this is gameable. So this is something that we were stuck on for a while until, and this is the power of the Pinto Brain Trust, if you will, a solution was proposed. I wish I remember from who. What if we made it such that we cap the bonus on an individual deposit level such that your bonus can't exceed the stock that you already have on the deposit. Originally, we were talking about a system-wide cap, but it basically made it such that the bonus couldn't grow to any sort of significant value to have a meaningful effect here. But once this idea for a cap that was unique to the individual deposit, such that you could only gain a bonus to double your stock effectively, this created a new ceiling for the amount of the bonus that could be offered to people, and thus began the process with this sort of breakthrough, if you will, to properly design a more sophisticated convert bonus system. So since then, a lot of work has gone into designing and now implementing a convert bonus system where the idea is similar to how in the field we have what we've been calling the field snowball, where instead of having a ton of soil available at all times, such that most of the time there's effectively no demand for soil, and then sometimes we have a significant demand for soil all at once, which has led to the temperature rising too high, as we've seen. Like once this change, the field snowball was implemented, where now we have a significantly smaller amount of soil that ramps up with demand. The temp has basically been halved in practice, and before the change was made, there was no end in sight to the rise in the temperature, and so we've seen a significantly better outcome for the protocol through having a limited capacity of soil available, a limited amount of sowing that is allowed, and then sort of real price discovery happening via the temperature. And so with the convert bonus, we've decided to take a sister approach, a very similar approach, where we're going to have a small capacity of bonus eligible PDV to convert in any given season, and ramp up that capacity over time if we see that there's significant demand for converts at a given bonus amount, where the bonus amount is measured in terms of stock per PDV, which is sort of like how much stock will you actually be getting as a bonus, which of course is capped on an individual deposit level. But more generally, we can have a fluctuating, a la the temperature, stock bonus per PDV. And once you have that in place, the idea is if you can get to a point where you can sort of find the right bonus amount, the protocol should be able to much more efficiently, actively, and accurately incentivize converts up towards the value target. And this is potentially, we'll see how it works out in the wild, but this is potentially a major upgrade to the peg maintenance model. And as Frijo and I have talked about in the past, once we have this bonus in place, assuming that it works, which we'll find out, then really the more meta level question is, does the protocol want you to convert, and how much does it want to convert? And at that point, you sort of enter an interesting territory when you're below the value target of, does the protocol prefer to issue debt, or does the protocol prefer to have converts? And one of the interesting things about converts is, well, one, there's a finite amount of liquidity, whereas in theory, the protocol can support infinite debt. So maybe there's some preference to from that angle to support debt issuance over using liquidity. But on the other hand, one, when you convert, you don't actually use any liquidity. What happens is you change the price in the liquidity pool, and then maybe some people sell. So the liquidity can be lost or taken out of the protocol as a result of converts, but only indirectly. And given the way that the stock system is designed such that the protocol really incentivizes people to leave quickly because they don't know how deep the bank run is going to get, it's unclear how quickly the protocol should really incentivize converts to return to the value target. So this was a bit of the parameterization conversation that Frijo and I had this week on how quickly should the protocol ramp up the capacity based on the debt level and based on the liquidity level. And it's a really interesting, more meta conversation to have about, okay, so let's first put it out, see based on some initial parameters that are sort of guesstimates based on the analysis that's been done and some napkin math, what's appropriate. But once we see how much efficacy there is for a bonus like this, whether the protocol is able to actually efficiently encourage converts, then the question becomes, okay, well, how can we actually impose some more meta level peg maintenance, if you will, that factors in the state of the protocol in terms of debt level, liquidity level, and price to operate within this trade-off space more accurately. And this takes us back to the Beanstalk state space discussion and paper. I don't know if you can call it a paper, but PDF that I put out a while back that explains the trade-off space that the protocol is operating in and the natural curvature of that space and how the protocol should think about optimizing for preserving liquidity, minimizing the debt that it issues, given the state of the system. So this is maybe, let's call it an initial intro into the topic, although in the coming weeks, I hope to talk significantly more about it. One of the things that I'm hoping to do, and I've talked a little bit about, is to start a class back up again to educate people on how the system works. At this point, it's quite a complex system, so I think it's a good time for us to dig back into the OG protocol mechanics, talk about how they've changed, why they've changed, and get people to a point where they can feel like they better understand the system. So, yeah, the convert bonus is honestly a very complex mechanism. It is probably the most complex mechanism that we've put into the system so far. And yeah, it's exciting to have it almost ready, and to also have it almost ready with the tractor blueprints and UI support as well, as we saw when we put out the field upgrade that implemented the field snowball. There was too much friction for people to participate without tractor. So in this case, it feels good to offer tractor support from day one with this upgrade. So yeah, that's a lot of talking on my end, but hopefully people find it interesting to hear a bit about what we've been cooking up from a more technical model-based perspective. So going to leave the floor open briefly. I know we're running into the top of the hour here, but yeah, that's where we're at. All right, gentlemen. I guess we don't know. Gentlemen and I don't even know the equivalent. All right, Beavers. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Hoping to see some PFPs, Beaver PFPs soon. And talk soon. Cheers. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thank you, Ben. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.